Gosh, I'm getting warm. Maybe I need to take the sweatshirt off, which is a good sign.
What's up, everyone? Town from the Airsoft headquarters here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I was considering doing like some type of intro, like when mankind first came into the universe, it was darkness and then fire and then evolution of light sources brought us to modern times and blah, 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 blah. But we don't need to do that. We're just talking about flashlights and we're gonna have fun talking about flashlights, so don't need to go super crazy with the intro. Also, it is one of the first warm-ish days of recording, so no sweatshirts. Starting off, we're gonna be talking about the StreamLight versus the Olight brand of tactical flashlight. My thoughts, my opinion, because I've used both. I don't have like a strong preference one way or the other. They kind of each have good reasons as to why they're in my collection. So starting off, if you're not familiar with these flashlights, they're tactical flashlights and they are more expensive relative compared to everything else that you're going to see on the airsoft market, because these are going to be designed also in conjunction with real firearms. So they can handle recoil, they can handle that blast from the muzzle device, and overall they're going to be a little bit more expensive, but they happen to be on the cheaper end of real firearm flashlights, which for someone like myself who is a little bit rougher on his shit, I could definitely ease off, but I also want to make sure that I, give all the brands and products that I have here in my collection, a good run for their money, so that I know that they're going to be a good product for you guys, why I recommend them so highly. So to pair with the really good weapons, I got to have some good accessories to go along with it. Now, like I said, these are going to be paired with the real firearm market because they are significantly better. Better durability, better reliability, better light projection, and overall just a better quality. And let me show you why. So this right here is a Airsoft manufactured specific flashlight. This is designed to be like a Surefire type of clone. It's an Airsoft brand, right? This thing was 80 bucks. I have some flashlights that are $80. They're not gonna make themselves, or they're not gonna make their way onto my recoil rifles or even my real rifles, because 80 bucks, you still get what you pay for. I mean, this guy, for a similar weapon mounted flashlight, this thing's kind of busted. I mean, if you look at the back plate here, which is designed to look very similar to the StreamLight model here, only one of the actual plates here is still attached. And then if we rotate it, I mean, it's on, but I don't know if you guys can see that it is on, but if we want it to be like actually bright, we gotta actually move it away from the lock position. So I'm moving it towards the off position, right? Just trying to get it to like there, like, see there, and it's locked on. That was a struggle versus that, or even something that's been in my collection for years, that. So these guys are much, much, much better. And speaking of price point difference, we're talking $80 versus these two are $129. So we're talking about an extra $50. You want my professional opinion, just bite the bullet, spend the extra $50 on a really, really good flashlight. Just because these are pieces of junk. So these are designed, the StreamLight and the Olight, they're designed to be a pistol mounted system. They're nice and compact, they're really small, and there's some plethora of holsters out on the market that are designed to work as far as clamping the flashlight and the pistol together so it can slide in and out. Same thing with the Olights or the Surefires or Surefire clones or anything else like that. The advantage that I've seen with these StreamLights and the Olights is that they are also designed to work as like an in-between for rifle flashlights. So if I wanted to You know, maybe go to an event and run just a basic flashlight, and I don't need to run a flashlight on my pistol, then I can just have a flashlight that can do both, pistol or rifle. So before we actually get into the side-by-side comparisons, I want to make certain that you guys are aware of the price points. I've already briefly mentioned it, but each flashlight, the StreamLight and the Olight here, are $129. They're the exact same price. So at that point, for me specifically, it was grabbing the accessories and trying to figure out what the accessory prices are going to come out to be if I wanted to do a proper weapon mounted system. So for example, that Olight that I have on the side here, when I would travel for the weekend, I wouldn't, if I wanted to use it for the weekend, I wouldn't mount it onto the right-hand side here, which you typically want. I would instead mount it to the top of the rifle. And that way when I aim down sights and I'm doing the C-clamp, then I can just hit the switch with my thumb over the bore and I can have it locked in place and do whatever I need to do. However, again, just for comparison's sake, between the Olight and the StreamLight, I thought, you know what, let's just spend a couple of personal bucks and, you know, get the actual pressure switch mounting systems for these guys and like do a proper in-depth breakdown. So the Olight, you can activate the light switch itself with the switches that are on the body of the flashlight itself. This is also designed to work with a remote pressure switch, meaning if the flashlight is up here and you prefer a rearward grip, you can pressure it like so. If you need an extended vertical grip back here, then you can activate the flashlight from back here, so on and so forth. There's more versatility in having a remote pressure switch. Now, I'm a little bit more tactical, and I have my pressure pad mounted right at that 12 o'clock position. So when I'm doing my super cool guy, thumb over bore, then I can activate the switch. So the switch itself for the Olight is $31.45 off of Amazon, because there was nowhere else local that I could get these guys. So that is what we have as far as the Olight. The StreamLight TLR1 that I have here is going to come in the box like this. If you want to have it mounted and then have the remote pressure switch, you need to have a replaceable back switch, because the current back switch that comes on it does not come with that remote pressure switch plug system. So you need to get a back door, which is this guy right here. So this is the same exact flashlight, but it has the extended back plate here to run the remote switch. And of course, I just happen to tighten down all of the screws when in storage, because I'm super awesome about that. You plug the switch in, and now you have that same remote pressure switch here. Again, if you want to run it back on the rearward of the rail system or on a vertical grip down here, you can do so, but I still mount it on that 12 o'clock position, like so. So the back switch, the back door, which is a separate purchase from the switch itself. The back door is $35.46, which is just this back door right here. Now, you want to buy the switch kit, that's $30.27. So you're already spending about twice as much on the accessories in order to do a proper weapon mounted light remote pressure switch system compared to the Olights. So there's a price advantage to the Olights already without going too much further. But let's talk about some of the pros and cons, because for me personally, I believe that each brand has its pros and cons. And then the other brand, the advantage to that, you know, is the advantage to the other one's con. So I'm gonna break it down. For my mannequins or my wonderful models, I have the StreamLight TLR1 on the Glock 19X from Elite Force, and then the Olight's going to be on the 19 Gen 3. So the Olight, because that's just currently what's in my hand right now, is profiled very, very similarly to the StreamLight TLR1. So for guys that already have all of the muscle memory of utilizing the StreamLight systems, they already know how to work and operate the systems. Now the button layout is going to be slightly different and the button functions are going to be slightly different. And as you can probably see already, the actual mounting of this onto a Glock platform is stupid easy. I mean, this is going to be a quick detach switch right here, a lever, and it just rocks into place and locks into place really, really, really tight. No movement, and if you wanted to tighten or loosen it for some other type of pistol platform, there is a small flathead on the side here that you just tighten or loosen it. Super basic, super elementary. On the bottom ring here, obviously that's where the pressure switch will magnet into, or the charging cable itself. And I'll break that down in a bit. So you have a button on the left side of the flashlight and a button on the right side of the flashlight. Each one can be activated individually, and then the other switch can also turn on and turn off the other switch. Now, this does have the lock on or light on function. It also has momentary on. So doing just a quick flick of the switch keeps the flashlight locked into the on position. So I can do whatever I want to right here as far as the pistol, or lay it down, do whatever I want to here, and that flashlight is going to remain on until I hit that switch again very quickly in order to turn it off. Now, for example, if I wanted just a momentary on where I don't want it locked on, then I can just hold it down with my finger, and then when I release it, then it's going to turn off. Now there is a little bit of a time delay, very similarly to the StreamLights, where you do need to be very sensitive as to where that momentary on and locked on position is, or in the case of the StreamLight, the momentary on and strobe. And again, I'll break that down in just a minute. So you have the locked on or momentary on. You also have the functionality of strobe, and I don't see a whole lot of people advertise the strobe effect, but on the left and right switch, if you hit those at the same time, that activates the strobe effect of the flashlight. And that just a quick flip or a quick switch of your finger is going to turn that back off. It's a little bit weird as far as functionality. So most guys, they got their finger on the trigger, they're going to use their left thumb over here in order to turn that flashlight momentary on or off if they need to do whatever tactical work, or they use their left thumb in order to lock in place. What I have found weird is when utilizing this pistol system is if you press your thumb and your pointer finger forward, that activates the strobe, but that is also a fraction of a second you need in order to activate the strobe and then go into your tactical shooting environment. So there's a little bit of a delay when it comes to utilizing the Olight in that strobe function. But overall functionality of momentary on or locked on utilizing your thumb system, it's very similar as far as that downward pressure that guys with the StreamLights are used to. Very easy functionality. I found it super easy to get used to the Olight based on my usage with the StreamLight. Going over to the StreamLight, if you guys are not familiar with that system, that also has a switch on the left and right hand side here. But what's weird is that it works as a seesaw essentially. So whatever one side is going to do, such as lower the right side of the switch, it's going to raise the left hand side. And if I lower the left hand side, it's going to raise the right hand side. So there's a little bit of a weird seesaw action that, again, you get used to pretty quickly when you spend some time with the StreamLight flashlight here. The locking system on this guy is, again, really, really good. I thought when I had the StreamLight here for as long as I did that it would be really quick, really easy to take on and off. I mean, obviously I don't need any type of additional tools. I can literally just use my fingers in order to turn it on or off. But after getting the Olight and having the actual space system actually calibrated, the Olight on and off system is much faster compared to the StreamLights. But again, I've never had either one fall off while in use, so both do really, really, really well. The switch system, as far as the button system on the StreamLight itself, works as such. On the left-hand side here, if you press down, that is your momentary on and off, which means as long as you're pressing downwards on that flashlight or on that switch, however long you have it pressed down, it's going to be on. And then if you rock it upwards on the left-hand side, it keeps the flashlight in that locked position. And again, so you can do whatever you need to here or whatever you want here. I have found that when you use the switch on the right-hand side here for your pointer finger, you can actually press downwards on that locked position and it actually flows into that trigger finger. So say for example, I'm carrying something super, super heavy and I need to have my pistol up for cover fire or whatever I'm doing. Having that switch on the right-hand side here, as far as a downward flick, moves much better into that trigger action compared to trying to lock it up and then back into a shooting position. But again, I still have that momentary on or off with my pointer finger on my right hand if I wanted to have that momentary on or off. This also has the strobe functionality, which a lot of times we're going to use strobe when we're in that dynamic tactical situation of having to shoot back and forth. And I've found that it's much easier with the StreamLight to activate that strobe compared to the Olight with your support hand. So on my left hand here, if you do press down and then another quick press down, I've also noticed that when it's really low on battery, it just won't do it. Okay. So with, again, pressing down, it's gonna activate that strobe. Maybe I should change the batteries out. I will in just a minute. So doing that quick down and then hold down, it's gonna activate that strobe effect. And it's something that you work really well on and then you can learn really easily, but you can't hold and activate that strobe like you can with the Olight. So for example, strobe is activated, I can set it down and the strobes continue to run. Oh, I guess I can do it. Learn something new every day. So I think if you quick flip down and then up, oh yeah. So down, up, and that's gonna activate the strobe. Learn something new every day. We're gonna transition these over into the rifle platform. So compared to this guy, which is designed, it's the WML, so it's the weapon mounted light. The whole purpose of this flashlight in particular is to be mounted to a weapon. And again, super easy to come on and off. I have it up in the 12 o'clock position, so when I need to do that super tactical lock in position here, as far as that tactical light, whether I'm shooting right-handed or transitioning over into the left hand, when that flashlight's up in that 12 o'clock position, you know, it's super easy for left-handed or right-handed people to activate. Compared to what you're typically supposed to do with a tactical flashlight on your rifle system is, I'm gonna use myself as an example because I'm right-hand dominant. The flashlight should be on the right-hand side of the rifle system here. So right-handed. The flashlight is gonna be on the right-hand side of the rifle system, so as I come around the corner, the flashlight is going to clear the doorway or wall first, so I can then see and acquire targets, get information from that environment, and then my muzzle clears in order to engage those targets. It's not quite as beneficial, especially when you've got something like a doorway right in front of you, because what happens when you hit a doorway and you turn that on, all that light splashes back in front of you. So it's way more advantageous to have the flashlight on the right-hand side if you need to clear right-hand side. Then clearing right hand with the flashlight on the left-hand side of you. Small little details like that. So the other advantage of utilizing the flashlight on such as this Kidbu T10 is the fact that, again, it can handle real rifle recoil. So it's gonna hold up and handle airsoft recoil, which this guy has the electric recoil system. It's not super powerful, but it's better than some of the other recoiled brands that are on the market, in my opinion. So having this guy on the side here, and again, I can just swap that back door in or out if I want to utilize it between the pistol or the rifle system here. So the total combination is the packaging for the StreamLight flashlight, which is here, the package for the new back door. This is the original back door. Oh, I cannot lose that. I cannot lose that part. The new back door switch assembly for rifle mounting and being able to utilize the remote pressure switch. And then the package for the actual remote pressure switch, which I was pleasantly surprised that there was so much stuff coming in the package from the StreamLight package. Starting off, you have these guys, which are some PVC hard rubber pressure switch insert systems. So these are designed to lock into the Picatinny assembly up here, and that locks your remote pressure switch in place. Now, I've found that these guys can be a bit of a pain in the ass to try to get like really, really well, but with enough practice, you get them to lock in. And it comes with two, so that you have your front, which locks this guy into place, like so, and it just slides like that. And then you have a rearward, which you would have underneath here, as long as you have the spacing properly spec'd out. And then you can lock your pressure switch so it's not moving to the back or to the front. You also have some 3M elastic sticky tape that you can adhere this to somewhere else, like a vertical grip. And it comes with multiple sizes of zip ties, which pretty cool. These guys on the pressure switch itself does have grooves cut out or molded out so that there are channels for the zip ties to lock into place. Really cool that they came up with those. I don't see a whole lot of Airsoft brand of pressure switches making those, so I really like that. I was pleasantly surprised at the actual quality of the pressure switch itself. I was really happy with it. Now, actually mounting and utilizing this system with the remote pressure switch. It's a little weird because the actual switch itself, when it locks into place here, has a 90-degree bend, so the wire itself needs to project somewhere other than straight back. There are brands of flashlights, such as this guy, where the actual switch itself does project backwards away from the flashlight, so it keeps everything in profile of the barrel and the rail system, so really slim and good fitment there. Versus this guy, the wire kind of just naturally works its way into a conundrum. So I have personally found that in conjunction with this flashlight on this rifle system, working it through this Fortis Shift grip, nice. It keeps the wires out of the way enough to where it's not going to snag or get caught up on my hands when I'm grabbing the front of the rifle system in order to control it and activate that pressure switch. So that is one of the tricks that I have found to this. Obviously, do whatever works for you, figure out what works best. And then utilizing my 416A5 with the Kythera to demonstrate the Olight mounting system. Ba-ba-bam. Woo. So again, don't need to adjust it a whole lot. It conveniently is just sized perfectly now. And then for the Olight package, as far as the actual switch itself, which when you order the switch, it comes with obviously the switch itself. It comes with the pressure switch holding system, which this is actually stiffer compared to the StreamLights. And this one I've actually had some difficulty with, and it comes with a couple of zip ties, but there's like no channels built into this for zip ties like the StreamLight is. honestly, with this guy, I've had a lot of issues as far as trying to get it to mount properly. So you got to get it lined up again, just like with the StreamLights. You got to get it mounted just right, and then use your super muscles in order to get it to lock into place. It's not super elastic, so you can be a little bit more forceful with it. And then there's a weird thing here. I get the part where they have this, which is heat shrunked wiring protection around the actual switch itself, but then the actual tail end of that switch is a different size as far as the width compared to where this is supposed to lock into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away at this material, but to show you, to demonstrate, it's actually very difficult to, because what you're supposed to do is get that heat shrink end to lock into place there. And this is supposed to, I guess, clip in, but I'm really concerned with maybe breaking the wiring system that's inside of here. And this doesn't bend a whole lot. So what I've been doing is working the actual wire through this here and then gently pulling it down around and then just dealing with, I can see that part of that heat shrink starting to come out because I'm forcing it through there, and then just dealing with the fact that it's, while it is tight, it's not locked into place. So that's something that I've personally dealt with, and I'm gonna have to mess with the actual sizing of the material here to actually get it to work properly. But once it is in there, it's not coming out. It is still locked in place, but it's not locked in place, like I said. But anyway, this guy is magnetized, so it can magnetizes to a bunch of other stuff and then just clips into place for your Olight. So again, the actual switch itself, it has momentary on or off, and it does, when you do a quick click, it does lock on. So you can do whatever you want as far as the rifle system itself. Obviously my hand is away from the switch itself, and I can still turn it on or off as far as momentary on or locked on. What's weird about this is that there's no strobe system as far as what I've been able to find out, but I can still turn on strobe by hitting those two buttons at the same time still, which I've actually found a way to work really well with that. And I just kind of deal with all of the extra wiring here. It doesn't look really good, but it just hangs out there. The switch functionality on the StreamLight is momentary on, momentary off, and then double clicking it for strobe. So this one does not have a locked on position for the light unless you go to the actual switch itself and you move it into the locked position. Now there's a couple of pros and cons with that, and what I've done is I've actually done just a shooting sequence where I have the flashlight on, I'm turning it on or off, I'm shooting at a target, I need to reload, but I want to keep my target illuminated. So with both of these, I've actually done the reload with the light on and then turned that light on and then went back into the pressure switch itself. And we're gonna run that here for you. I like the Olight pressure pad system just a little bit more, even though I can engage strobe. I prefer the Olight a little bit better. Now between both of these, the actual functionality of the TLR1 is a little bit weird because you have to use additional motors or additional movements in order to get that light to lock on. Additional movements means your brain is working somewhere else in order to engage something else other than being super concerned with the firefight that you are engaged in. Now, obviously, when you're in a much more cool and calm environment, having that brain function dedicated to keeping the switch on or keeping it momentary on, very easy to work with. The Olight I have found to be better when it came to that reload functionality, as far as momentary on, momentary off, lock on, do the reload, and then back up to momentary on, momentary off. And that's using the right hand system. All right, well, the cold weather has killed a bunch of my spare lights on the side here, so we're just gonna have to run without. So the point I was making is that I also did some shooting when it comes to left-hand operation. So obviously, guys that are left-handed are gonna have the gun or the flashlight on the left-hand side of the rifle system, but for guys that are gonna be a little more ambidextrous like myself, being able to have a comparison in order to actually come around to the right-hand side here where the flashlight body would be and having to try to turn that light on or off, what are the pros, what are the cons, and obviously getting some feel for it. Now, both of these for sure are really uncomfortable, for sure uncomfortable. The StreamLight I really struggled with because the switch on the very back here, as far as that actual lever switch here, the pad of my hand, when I would reach here, would come around, hit the locked on position on the flashlight. So when I made the transition into the right hand side, the light's still on, even though my hand is well away from it. So I had to take a little bit of time and obviously learn that I need to grab up around the actual body itself in order to hit the pressure switch and not back here when it comes to turning that light on and on with the pressure pad and the grip, so on and so forth. The Olight system was really not fun, but it was a little bit better because what would happen is there's significantly more body, especially since we have that switch on the external of it. So there's more mass for me to grab my hand around and try to activate. Obviously, I'm not super big monster hands, so having to reach around like that is a little more stressful. But when I would need to come around the side here, I could turn that light on or off, momentary on, momentary off, locked on, or even hit the strobe here with my support hand. And then I was like, you know what? Instead of hitting the pressure pad, let me try that with the StreamLight. The Olight, those switches are designed to be, I don't know if it's intentionally designed or accidentally designed, but they're designed in place for turning on or off with your thumb and your pointer finger on the right-hand side, or shooting left hand, right-hand side of the rifle system. Versus here, you can still do it, but getting that pointer finger to press away from the body in order to get momentary on and momentary off is very stressful. I'm starting to feel it here in my forearms because that's just a muscle that doesn't get utilized very often as far as pressing away. So the TLR1 is still useful. You can still get locked on light as far as here shooting left-handed, but that's locked on. And then obviously if you want to hit strobe, which you can here, you need to keep that pointer finger pressed away from the flashlight, which is starting to get super tough. Compared to the Olight here, you just hit it. Because those are designed to be, or again, don't know if it's intentional or accidental. I hope it was intentional because this makes way more sense as far as being able to get locked on, momentary off, or hitting the strobe. So for rifle mounted systems, being the most accessible, or not accessible, being the most ergonomic as far as mounting to a rifle system, I think the Olight does a better job overall. I've also had accidents where I've accidentally pulled the cable away from the very back here, which doesn't require a whole lot of force in order to get it backed out just enough to where it's not going to work in conjunction with the light here. But I've had a way harder time trying to get the light switch or the pressure pad cable to pull away, because trying to pull away, it's not going to do shit. You have to actually force it away, and then it's a strong enough magnet that you're going to hear if it does fall off, if it falls off, it's going to start bouncing around and clanging everywhere. And in my case, it really likes that spring. So it's super easy to know that, hey, my switch has fallen off. Let me just take a quick second and fix it. So those are the reasons why I think the Olight does a better system on a rifle. Now, I talked about this with a previous video, but one of the things I want to cover very quickly is the light projection. With the Olight system here, I'm going to lock it into place, and that's probably a flat enough of a wall surface that you can see that the center of the light is a tighter ring. It doesn't have a whole lot of what is called bleed around the center of the beam itself. But it does have significantly more bleed when talking about the external radius of the light projected. So this is going to be a more beneficial light when it comes to really close quarters, really CQB, because there's much more light spill, which means there's more light shining on stuff around you. So say, for example, you're going into a room, but you are in the threshold of the doorway, you're pointing into the far left corner, there's enough light spill here to where you could potentially see something out of your corner of your eye in the far right corner. There's a lot of tactical advantages as far as a home defense light with this system specifically, compared to the StreamLight, which has a significantly tighter center beam, and as far as that external radius bleed, it is also very, very tight. So this projects light in a very, very tight pattern. What I've noticed with this one specifically, and I don't know if we captured a clip of it, but what I would do is I was able to hip fire with this system utilizing a flashlight, or I was able to hip fire using a pistol, because I knew how tight that center projected light is, that hey, as long as I have that really tight light projection onto the body, BBs are gonna hit. And the same thing applies to bullets. So this does a really good system as far as having a passive aim system implemented into your shooting skill set. So for example, again, you're in a CQB environment and you're going into the far left-hand corner, you know without having to actually aim down sights that my bullets are gonna go right there. Now, this one doesn't have a whole lot of bleed around the external radius, so you're not gonna nearly see as much in that corner of your eye in the far right corner, but passive aiming, much better on this system compared to the Olight. So there's pros and cons to each one. Me personally, I like the Olight system better as far as having more information presented to me. My personal opinion, obviously you guys can do what you want with that information. Another big thing to consider when comparing these two light systems is the actual source of power between the StreamLight here and the Olight. If you guys have not caught up or are not familiar, the Olights use an integrated battery. So it's a built-in battery housing system. So it is not accessible as far as I'm aware. They didn't make it obvious in any of the manuals. I didn't see any type of video on how to get access to the battery. So what I've been utilizing is this charging cable that comes in the box with it. So if you have you plug it into the wall, this is gonna connect to the actual surface of the flashlight itself. Super easy, super peasy. There is a small little LED on the very bottom here that is going to be colored red or green. Red is bad, it's charging. Green is good, you can pull it off. Pretty basic monkey science. What I have found when utilizing this, as far as traveling with it, is if I need to charge it in the car, it can plug into the vehicle itself, or if you have an external battery pack, if you're out on the field for like a camping event, you can charge up using an external battery pack and powering up your flashlight here and then connect it to your phone or whatever like that. But this is a significantly slower charge system compared to plugging it directly into a wall outlet. But it's still really cool that you don't need like packs of batteries into your kit. You can just have an additional charging cable that goes into the backpack or into your pockets wherever your phone cables are, right? So that's just another smaller system that can be just thrown into your everyday carry. versus the StreamLight systems are going to utilize the CR123s, CR123As. I have still not discerned a difference between CR123s and CR123As, but apparently there is a difference. I don't know what it is. Battery guys can tell me what the difference is. So when it comes to changing the light or the batteries of the StreamLights, which is very convenient since this guy's obviously very, very dead. When you first get, I should mention, when you first get a StreamLight flashlight, there is going to be this bright red card that when you open up the trap door here, this is going to be in the way of the battery compartment. So you have to slide this out and you have to read, hey, this is a fire, explosion, burn hazard warning system. Only utilize these brand BBs, otherwise you run the risk of stuff going bad. And you know what? The Valken CR123s are not on that list, but I definitely will take full responsibility of anything that does happen to these flashlights because I'm using the not correctly suggested batteries here. What is cool with the StreamLights is they do have painted on the sides of the body here which direction the batteries need to go. So in case you forget the positive to the negative direction, it's painted onto the side for you. So you just drop those in, reattach that trap door system, and there is this hinge here that will lock the entire back plate into position for you. And you have now a fully charged light. And there's strobe. So it's also equally as convenient having just brand new batteries. I mean, the batteries themselves are fairly inexpensive, but I couldn't tell you how many times I've changed the battery on this thing in the 4 years I've had it, just because it's been that many times. And actually, Malcolm, can you grab the package again for me, please? So I can see what the price of those batteries are. It's on the side of the floor. Yeah. $9 for a 2-pack of CR123s. Let's see, so I would say maybe once a month, if I'm not using it very often. Once a month, you know, $9 here, $9 there. You don't really notice the add up. And I've had this flashlight for 4 years now, so that's theoretically $400 of just batteries alone. That's a stupid big number. That's a ridiculous number versus a rechargeable system. So that right there, that built-in cost-saving factor, I'm gonna give it that to Olight right there. Honestly, gonna give it to Olight. And those are gonna be based on my personal numbers, how often I'm changing the batteries on these guys, and I have 2 of them now. So that's not gonna help me at all. But the things I do for you guys and the things I do to have fun. The next thing is going to be the durability that we're gonna talk about. Now, the past week, 2 weeks actually, I've been down at the arena covering for referees, so I've been utilizing the Olight, and I've been going back and forth between the Olight and the Surefire flashlights as far as utilizing them for Airsoft down at the arena. The Olight has actually made its way to more Milsim events than the StreamLight, but I've actually taken the StreamLight as a backup pistol light, and I've used the Olight more as a weapon-mounted light, you know, when going to Milsim events. But for indoors, I've kind of tried to use them back and forth a couple of times. But obviously I prefer the Olight. But anyway, the point I was making is that while reffing, I am a little bit more proactive when it comes to my reffing performance. So a lot of times I'm not staying in the one ref crow's nest. A lot of times I'm moving back and forth. I'm climbing up different walls and different sections. The regular players at the arena can attest to that. I'm super sneaky when it comes to where I'm hanging out, just to keep an eye on all you shitheads. But I've accidentally dropped this flashlight more than once at distances of 10 to 15 feet. I'm not intentionally dropping it, I promise you. I don't want to drop this, but I also did not want to do a durability test. However, for the fact that I have been dropping it on concrete, nonetheless, and the fact that it's working really, really well, and not broken or shattered or anything like that. It still has a really bright light to it. No cracks, no fractures. So I personally think that this passes the durability test, and I'm not going to go too much further into testing my flashlights. Personally, my StreamLight TLR1 has seen extensive use as far as a flashlight as well. This one also has fallen out of my pockets multiple times when climbing around the structures of the arena, and has accidentally had its light shot out about a year ago when I was playing down at the arena. But the actual breakage of the glass did not shatter the bulb inside of here, so it's still usable. And I'm debating getting a specific color lens for this guy. I think it'd be pretty cool. I just need to find a good source for that colored light bulb. But anyway, StreamLight, as far as I'm concerned, also passes the durability test. You can even see on the very back plate here, that screw is very heavily rusted because I've had that thing for so long. And obviously it's gone through the rain and just high humidities, stuff like that, which is another point I want to make, because there is such a heavy division on the Olight versus StreamLight just user base, not even from a tactical standpoint, but just guys that are just utilizing flashlights for an everyday carry and EDC. There's a huge division of StreamLight versus Olights. I'm talking like divisions like 9mm versus 45 ACP, huge divisions. I didn't realize how crazy people were getting about just flashlights. So there's been a lot of misconception about Olight being a waterproof system. While there have been videos, and I've seen many videos between both of these flashlights specifically, neither are waterproof, but both are water resistant. Now, with the StreamLight flashlight specifically, this one does have a higher durability rating technically compared to the Olight specifically. The Olight is 1 or 2 levels below StreamLight as far as durability, and that has to do primarily with the water pressure and how deep it can go and still not get messed up. But I've also seen plenty of videos where the Olight can surpass those depths that it's supposedly rated to. I've also seen videos of StreamLights failing at very low water pressures. So it's kind of a toss-up in the coin as far as which one's gonna have better durability, as far as ratings and whatnot. My personal opinion, don't drop either of these. Try not to get them shot out, and obviously they're water resistant, not waterproof. I want to make that uber clear. And then the final thing is, I know that with the Olight brand specifically, there is again a lot of misconception as to one of the bigger issues when it comes to accidents involving this brand. And if you guys are kind of following what I'm putting down, you're in the know-how. And if you guys are not familiar with what I'm putting down, do a little more research with the Olight brand, but do even more research, because what I've found out is that the cause of issue has been with that Olight case specifically was with the improper usage of alternative branded batteries. Not because Olight was incorrectly manufacturing or manufacturing their flashlights. It was because it was a faulty battery brand that has had a history of being faulty and not good. For example, where did that go? Like I was telling you with the StreamLight, that warning hazard, the actual brands of batteries that this company recommends use only StreamLight, Panasonic, Sanyo, or Energizer CR123s or Duracell 123s. Do not mix brands or old and new batteries. See instructions for details. So they have made it very abundantly clear that when you go to put your batteries into this flashlight, you have to pull this up and out of the way to insert those batteries. So if you're not following these instructions, you are held liable for any type of issues of, what's it called? Fire, explosion, or burn hazards. It was unfortunate that that was the case with this guy, that someone was using bad batteries, but I've also seen plenty of other instances with the StreamLights where people were utilizing incorrectly suggested batteries. I've also seen Surefire flashlight cases, not nearly as many. I had to dig a little bit deeper to find it, but there was a Surefire incident where they used bad batteries that just went bad and created a hand grenade effect. So even though you may, for some of the better flashlights, some of the best flashlights on the brand, Surefire's one of the better ones on the market, way too rich for my blood. So that's why I've settled for these guys, but they still also have cases of not holding up to, the issues of bad batteries. So, pick your poisons. And that's all I have to say about that. Obviously, to wrap up the entire overview, as far as the comparison, I personally prefer the Olight flashlights better compared to the StreamLights for the reasons that I've brought up. Obviously, this was a way lengthier, way more in-depth video for you guys to sit through. Hopefully, I was able to entertain and educate you guys as far as the differences between each one. Obviously, there's a bunch of other brands of flashlights out there that I've not touched or had in my collection that I have no doubt are really, really good flashlights. I would really like to have those in my collection, but these are also coming out of my own pocket as far as associated costs. I want to make it clear that no one is paying me. I'm not sponsored. No one's giving me anything in exchange for these guys. I've bought these flashlights with my own money, for my own purposes. So that being said, leave a like, leave a comment, share it with some of your friends. That does help with the YouTube algorithm. And I'd really like for this video to do well enough to where I could at least pay for a cup of coffee, or at least help pay my camera guy Malcolm, get him a cup of coffee, because YouTube still hasn't paid us out at all yet, but that's a struggle for another time. Anyway, if you guys do have any further questions about any of the flashlights or the flashlights that I have here, put them down in the comment section below. I am going to continue to get more Olight flashlights, obviously, so maybe I'll do some further reviews of those guys. But that's all I have for you guys. So you guys take care, stay safe, stay positive, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Take care.